Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sophia.
My name is Natalie.
I'm Jeff.
My name is Sally.
And we are the NFT team in Sustainability Action Research.
For those of you who don't know, Sustainability Action Research, or SAR, is a student-led and facilitated research program offered through UCLA's Institute of the Environment and Sustainability. We are tasked with researching and investigating UCLA sustainability issues.
Our team specifically is working on creating a set of guidelines to determine the sustainability of non-fungible tokens. NFTs have recently exploded in popularity, and they provided a new source of income and exposure for creators.
One very important thing to consider when researching the sustainability of NFT deals is EDI, and that's what we'll be discussing in today's podcast.
To start off, what do you all think EDI is exactly? Some of us may be very familiar with the topic, and some of us may be very unfamiliar with it.
Equity, diversity, and inclusion, or EDI, ensures everyone is treated fairly and justly. EDI aims to prevent prejudices and discrimination from interfering in any one person's access to opportunities.
In the sustainability world, EDI works to combat environmental racism and empower BIPOC, low-income, and other traditionally marginalized communities to lead the way in creating a more equitable and sustainable world.
EDI should be factored in at every step of the decision-making process, whether it's gathering input and feedback from these marginalized communities to considering the impacts a decision would have on a certain groups, and whether these impacts are disproportionately affecting one group over another.
That sounds great, and it does sound like having these conversations is important, and in some instances, not considered enough. That being said, how does it connect with NFTs?
When it comes to NFTs, EDI actually intersects with this topic in many ways. NFTs are a niche topic, and certain groups can be excluded from accessing and purchasing NFTs, especially considering that NFTs are fairly new.
In fact, a survey done by the Pew Research Center showed that overall, men are twice as likely as women to say they have used cryptocurrency. Americans with higher incomes were also found to be more likely to have heard a lot about cryptocurrency compared to those with middle and lower incomes.
When it comes to the impacts of NFTs, there are benefits and drawbacks. On one hand, the energy usage and labor may also disproportionately impact lower-income communities and countries. On the other hand, NFTs can help improve diversity by showcasing artwork from underrepresented groups.
For our project specifically, we will be balancing the perspective of artists, athletes, and other creators with the needs of campus stakeholders. We want to ensure that the purchasing of NFT remains accessible to everyone and that the supply chain in the companies providing NFTs are ethical.
So you mentioned some disproportionate effects of NFT minting. Can you explain a little further?
A lot of the mining occurs in countries like China, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, and Iran, where there is cheap coal, electricity, and cheap labor, and there have also been allegations of forced labor.
For Bitcoin mining, there's also been the problem of e-waste from all the specialized computers used, and there are disproportionate impacts on third world countries. In these countries, there's a lot of e-waste dumping and no regulations on proper treatment of e-waste, which leads to health impacts and environmental impacts as well.
Analyzing the social impacts of cryptocurrency and blockchains is a big part of what our stakeholder UCLA Trademarks and Licensing does, and will also be a very big part of our project these next 2 quarters. In addition to sustainability, we'll also be looking at these NFT providers and asking whether their practices are fair and ethical.
What about the accessibility aspect? What's the issue there?
Well, obviously, you need a computer and access to the internet in order to purchase an NFT. This requirement automatically excludes a number of people from participating.
Purchasing NFTs can get expensive as well. We hear stories all the time of NFTs selling for thousands or even millions of dollars. And because of this, the buying and trading of NFTs are mostly reserved for only a select group of people who can afford them. One example is the exclusive restaurant clubs that require ownership of an NFT just to eat there. For instance, at the Fly Fish Club in New York, their NFT costs around $12,800.
Wow, I see what you mean about NFTs being exclusive and unattainable for most.
Yes, most definitely. I think it's also important to acknowledge that tech, environmentalism, and financial investments in NFTs, crypto, or the stock market are mainly white-dominated niches. Communities of color are often not included in the conversation. Minorities don't have the same resources, hence they're not encouraged to join these fields generally associated with being white and affluent. A recent survey by CNBC found that more than 2/3 of US cryptocurrency investors are men, with about 60% of them being white. The gender and race gap in crypto is wider than in other financial investments, such as stock, bonds, and mutual funds.
What are some ways we can incorporate EDI into our research and project?
One way to incorporate EDI is to research these NFT providers' practices if they have information or policies about sustainability or info about labor practices. This can be investigated through surveys or interviews.
We should also make sure the artists who create most of these NFTs are properly represented. While some NFTs gain massive popularity, the artists themselves are often forgotten and underrepresented in the media.
Many of these artists are creating NFTs to make a living. If UCLA were to enter an NFT deal, we need to make sure that whoever created the NFT is properly credited and receive their fair share of the profits.
I agree. By properly crediting the creators of any NFT minted by UCLA, we can help represent these artists and make sure they aren't being exploited. But how can we absolutely make sure that exploitation doesn't happen?
Well, before fully minting and putting out a UCLA affiliated NFT, meetings must be held and agreements must be drawn between UCLA, the NFT provider, and the individual or group that created the NFT. As part of our research, we are attempting to reach out to students and potential artists to sort of see how everyone feels about NFT deals.
We also have to consider the possibility that a project might close off opportunities for artists.
What do you mean?
Well, if after all our research, we find that NFT deals are highly unsustainable and we reject the offers, we might be denying people the opportunity to succeed and make money using NFTs and their art. So it's a delicate balancing act between sustainability and making sure underrepresented groups aren't denied access.
There is a possible solution to making NFTs more accessible. What if NFTs at UCLA could be purchased by credit card?
Is that even a thing?
Yeah, so we've seen this at UMiami when they launched their first NFT platform where fans can purchase football memorabilia. The platform is partnered with Gig Labs, a tech company that operates based on the Flow blockchain, which allows consumers to purchase NFTs using a normal credit card.
So how does this relate to UCLA?
For one, UCLA could look into accepting credit cards to address our project's concerns regarding inclusion. Additionally, NFTs at UMiami were sold at various price points starting at $50, so it'd be great to see UCLA offer NFTs at a more affordable price and accept credit cards as a form of payment.
So what's the significance of all of this? Why should our listeners care?
Since NFTs are relatively new, we can ensure that EDI is incorporated into all sustainability guidelines from the very beginning. Our proposals will ensure that all parties involved are being treated equitably and fairly.
We can ensure that UCLA enters into contracts with NFT providers that commit to a social justice, from ensuring that energy usage from servers do not disproportionately impact any one community, to following fair labor standards for minters.
Through the use of credit cards or cheaper cryptocurrencies, we can ensure that all potential buyers are able to access NFTs created by their favorite artists.
NFTs are such a new concept in the modern and digital world, so there's not much research conducted yet. Not very many people are aware of what actually goes into creating, maintaining, and selling an NFT.
There are a host of sustainability, ethical, and quality issues associated with the production of NFTs, all of which our team needs to consider before UCLA decides whether or not to sign an NFT deal.
One thing is for certain, the implementation of EDI is a crucial aspect in deciding how to proceed.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope this podcast gives a little more insight into our project and how we are planning to continue our research in these upcoming weeks. Thank you and bye.